Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kingdom Increase, aka Ayoko Fishola. I'm so happy to be here today to be sharing with you. Watch this before applying for a student loan. That's going to be the title of today's video. So like you know, today I'm going to be talking about student loans, what I wish I knew before actually applying for a student loan. So I will be telling you about my mindset before actually applying for the loan. I remember that I applied for the loan in 2018, I think, around that time. And I got an admission to York University to study kinesiology. I remember I was so happy, but I didn't exactly know what would entail. How was I gonna get the money, what the process would look like. I just knew that I needed to apply to the Quebec student loan. And this, what I'm gonna be sharing with you today is something that you can apply to to apply to any loan in whatever province or country that you're in. It's just general knowledge. Okay, I remember I was so happy because I knew that I was gonna be getting the money, but I didn't exactly know what I was getting into at the same time. So yeah, I just kind of knew that I was gonna get this loan, and there was a grant of free money that I was gonna be getting with that. So yeah, I was very excited. I didn't really think about the repercussion of actually getting a student loan, what it was gonna be like actually repaying that loan in the future. So I was only thinking about the present. I was only excited about the admission. I wasn't really thinking about repayment at all. And so I'm going to be sharing the definition of grant and loan in this video. A grant is a fund given by a person or organization, often a public body, charitable foundation, or specialized grant-making institution, or in some cases a business with a corporate social responsibility mission to an individual or an entity in a non-profit organization, some type of business or local government body for a specific purpose linked to public benefit. So the idea is that the government will give you a grant so that you can actually participate in society by helping to better the economy. And so that's the reason why they're sort of investing in you. And a loan is a thing that is borrowed, especially a sum of money that is expected to be paid back with interest. So when you're getting a student loan, you're not getting the loan and you're going to be paying back the exact same amount. You need to consider the interest you're also going to be paying alongside the loan. So yeah, the sum of student loan is determined by a province or a state. So for example, I live currently in Quebec right now, in Montreal, but I went to school in Toronto, that's in Ontario, and so I was an out-of-province student. And so the process is very different from someone that's actually a domestic student. That means a student that's actually studying in Quebec and resides in Quebec. And so yeah, the process is very different, and also the struggles of the out-of-province student is actually very insane. I remember that there was one time that I wasn't getting any student loan, and I was trying to rectify the issue as to why I wasn't getting any loan at that time. And I was trying to work with my university and the loan agency, right, the student loan agency, AFE. And basically I was having to fill forms and write letters and sending them back and forth. Quebec were requesting for a form to be filled by my university institution, but I was trying to do this, and they were kind of clueless regarding what they were supposed to do. And just kind of connecting the two institutions together was very difficult, because of the discrimination in Quebec, for example, against the Anglophone people, and vice versa. And so it was quite hard, and at the same time, at the end of the day, I did not get the issue resolved. So that's something that you need to consider, knowing that when you're basically applying as the out-of-province students, is there any politics that could basically hinder your progress, in terms of if anything happens and you need to fill a form, for example, or they're requiring something from your university, like, is there a clear means of communication between the two parties? Like, is there going to be any politics, or is there any past tensions in the politics in the past or in the present? And so this is just the idea that, you know, the domestic policies in that country will affect your participation in the student loan, if that makes sense. And so yeah, for me, one thing that really affected me, first of all, I talked about the politics, domestic politics, that really affected me. I kind of felt discriminated against. Secondly would be the lack of transparency, because I did not know the amount of the sum of money I was gonna get in terms of like the loan. And so I remember like I went into university to study kinesiology, but I wasn't doing so well in kinesiology, and I figured that wasn't something that I loved. I loved sport, but not like the skeleton and like the muscle part of it. Although like I'm a fitness trainer now, and I feel like it's a whole different story. I just love the movement part of it, not like the, you know, the sciencey part of it, right? And I don't think I was even in the exact state of mind to be actually studying that at that moment, right? So I just felt that I needed a change. And I remember I was talking to, you know, a family member about it, and I actually was encouraged to actually change programs. And the program that I actually changed to was actually in the same faculty. So my second year, it was, I think it was end of my second year, I decided that I was going to actually switch to health policy. And so I basically went to see an advisor, and then she was like, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, yeah. And she was like, yeah, I think you should go for it. But I think that what the advisor did not tell me is that, you know, there were financial repercussions to that change. And that was something I wasn't even thinking at all. In my mind, I was just like, you know what, I am the one to carry the student loan burden. I will get a job after college, university, and, you know, that's basically that. I didn't really know that the government was actually putting a cap on my student loan. And so yeah, I changed my program, and towards like my last year, actually, towards my third year, actually, you know, I found that they weren't actually paying me any money. It was like towards the end of COVID-19. It was really, really hard. I talked about how I got scammed in my last video, and it was really hard. I wasn't getting any student loan from Quebec at all, and I was trying to, that's basically, I was trying to like rectify the issue, and then, you know, they told me basically that, you know, I'd reached the maximum amount that they can actually give me. And I'm like, I'm confused, because like, you guys did not even tell me that there was even any cap on the amount that I'm able to actually get. And so this is something that you should be aware of. And so that's why I say that when you're actually getting a student loan, you need to have a plan. You need to be able to have done like, you know, much research before actually like, you know, getting the loan. Number one question to ask is like, how much grant are you going to be giving me on the phone with the, you know, AFE agent, or like wherever you're talking to, wherever you are in the world, if it's a province, a state. Get in contact with the student loan government body and just ask them, you know, the agent, how much is the grant, how much is the loan, the maximum amount of loan that I can get from the government based on, you know, what I'm doing and things like that. You know, depending on what you're doing will determine how much you will be getting. So this is some vital information that you need to know. And you can ask questions like, what if I want to change my program in, like, you know, in the future? When do you think would be the best time to actually change my mind, you know, going forward, so that I'm not like 2 years deep into it and I'm like saying that I want to actually change my program. I also feel like this information is good for immigrants, you know, the people that actually are born in Canada or like in the US, for example, wherever you are, and their parents actually do have the money to actually fund their education, and so they're able to make changes like, you know, 2-3 times, you know, in university. But that's not me, you know. I had like a friend as well who actually, she's an international student, and she wanted to change a program from chemistry to something else while she was in school. But because of her parent has actually like invested so much in like a chemistry program, our education, like she wasn't allowed to actually change it. And because she's an international student, she couldn't get any loan. So that's pretty tough. And so I mean, I feel like I'm grateful that even though I did not know like exactly the amount that I was entitled to in terms of like the loan, if I had known, I feel like maybe that would have stopped me from actually like making that change, and that would have affected my future. And yeah, like would I still have made that decision knowing the fact that, you know, I would be kind of stranded in the future, and you know, and be having like, you know, pending student fees to pay? I feel like, yeah, that's something interesting as well. But I think like transparency can actually help you to plan better and to avoid certain, you know, pitfalls in the future, and just to help your decision making, I think. So yeah, I already talked about the struggles of out of province students. It's pretty hard. Sometimes you feel like as if you're being discriminated against and things like that. And I feel like Quebec's policies, for example, is very interesting. Like they're very keen to bringing back people that have invested back into Quebec. So yeah, the policies are really weird, and I feel like it's kind of structured around that. So yeah, basically, do you have a plan entering into university? Number one is like, do you know about the politics happening between both countries or both states? How do you think that you can actually navigate that? Do you think that it will benefit you or be a disadvantage to you? And also, if you're immigrants and like you don't really have any money, I feel like there are many of us out there that are wanting to do higher education, but your parents is not affluent enough to actually sponsor your education or even help with like basic amenities, and so you oftentimes have to, you know, take on the burden yourself, and that means that you're going to get a full-time job or your part-time job, and means trying to be a college athlete, and you know, yeah, and do other things like hobbies as well, and also study and go to classes, and do extracurricular activities at the same time. So these are the struggles that we immigrants have, and that's why you see many of us, like basically like we tell ourselves like, oh my god, like, I feel like I don't have any life, you know, because you out like all these things you're trying to juggle. Like where do you even have the time for social activities, like, you know? So, and next one is what you wanting to, like, basically what you chose when you applied for that university. Is it really what you want to study? I feel like the journey of like getting higher education as a citizen or someone with affluent parents versus someone that is an immigrant and, like, you know, did the high school in like Nigeria, for example, or like Angola or whatever, and like you're trying to convert that education here to like the Western country that you're in, it's very different. The process is very different. First of all, you're kind of like the amount of universities that you can actually apply to and get admitted to is very like, it's smaller, and so you kind of need to just apply everywhere and kind of see, you know, basically like which one's gonna take you. And when you're done with that, like, you have to apply for student loan and stuff like that. So it's kind of like you're trying to look for opportunities, and you would take whatever you can in a way, as compared to someone that with affluent parents. Like, think about it, like they've spent money, you know, hundreds and thousands of dollars, and like making sure that you have good grades, okay, and you know, your quality of life is better in high school and things like that. And so it's kind of like you're set up for success in a way. And so yeah, like, you have more options to choose from. You are basically selecting right now, okay. So that's just basically what to kind of think of when you actually, that's something to kind of think of when you're actually making that decision on, like, you know, what university to go to. Just try to be realistic in a way. And I'll often say, like, you know, it's good to pray regarding everything that you're doing. Don't idolize like university. Just have an idea of how you want your future to be like, and pray to God about it, and let the Lord actually direct your path as well. So yeah, Another question to ask is, can you reduce the amount of loan that you will be using, you know? And that involves like being decisive about like what program you want to take, and not changing your mind in the middle of your education. So if you're decisive, you're able to save money actually. You're able to, you know, do the courses that you need to do, invest the amount of study time that needs to be invested in. And I know that realistically things happen, and sometimes you don't really have the funds, and you have to work full-time sometimes as an immigrant, and so it can be hard. Okay, so also the next one is going to be, have you considered scholarships? Because there are some scholarships out there that don't require you to have like perfect good grades, and you just need to actually be good at writing. And I feel like, you know, you can actually partner with someone to help you with writing all these things. But again, as an immigrant, these things can be, you know, hard to kind of like wrap your mind around. Like, you know, I can actually like get a scholarship, and I feel like there's this stereotype regarding like, you know, people getting scholarships that you have to have perfect grades, but not all scholarships are like that. And if you're thinking that, you know, the standards are really high, you're never gonna try. So you need to give yourself a chance as an immigrant child or immigrant student or adult. You need to give yourself a chance and just try everything, and just put yourself out there, no matter what, like, you know, policies are out there to basically make you stumble or to cripple you. You know, there are policies like that, right? There are many policies like that in Quebec, in Ontario, that are there to cripple immigrants. And yeah, just put yourself out there irregardless and see what happens, right? And you should be willing to also invest in your future. So that means like the time to write that, you know, letter, that paper, or whatever, you know, you need to do to actually help, you know, gather money for your education. So it's the idea that you can actually get money from other resources other than student loan or a grant. And that leads me to, have you thought about bursaries? Okay, universities actually give bursary. If you're going through financial hardship, you can actually like communicate with the financial department of your university and let them know the situation on ground, and how, you know, is there anything they can do to help you. Oftentimes they do have bursaries for struggling students, and so you need to basically like gather up the papers. You know, sometimes if you are missing any, like a paper, like a, I don't know, if you're missing certain documents, I say paper, but I mean documents. If you're missing certain documents, it will determine if you're going to be getting the maximum amount of bursary that you can. And so you want to make sure that your organization skills are on point. So yeah. And lastly, the question that I think that I would be asking myself again if I was to be starting this whole process again is going to be, do I have a budget? Okay, based on like all the money that I've been able to gather, the ones that I'm basically thinking about getting in the future, if I do get those money in terms of scholarships and stuff like that, like, do I have a budget? Like, you know, that is really important, because if you have a budget and you're sticking to that budget, certain things like, you know, working extra hours will not be relevant, because you can then invest that time into studying, into like, you know, college athleticism, right? Athleticism. And yeah, that could actually help you to even get more scholarships. So you need to be thinking like, oh, I could get free money, what can I do to actually get ahead financially and save myself, you know, the hardship in the future. Also, and this information again, maybe I did not, you know, I wasn't very specific, is regarding undergrad studies. If you're doing, if you're wanting to go for graduate studies, my advice is that before you actually apply for that master's degree, make sure that you have settled every debt. Like, I mean, debts like credit card debts, you've settled your pending student fees, maybe the student loan wasn't able to cover it all. So do you have any student fees to pay? Make sure you have actually, you know, set aside years for you to actually pay it off, because, you know, paying off these loans can be hard. Okay, I mean, there's, as an immigrant adult, there's this list that you can do, right? And so you need to be realistic, like, when can I actually go back to my studies? When can I go back to do my master's, right? And so yeah, and don't be scared that, you know, maybe in the future you want to go back, will I get admitted? Like, you can try. Oftentimes there are many universities out there, there are many programs out there, they're looking for people with experience rather than, you know, grades. Anyways, basically that is what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to advise you guys on. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. I'm gonna be coming again to share more insight on what I think I could have done better, you know, in school. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I really appreciate it, and I think that you guys are the best in the world. To those ones that actually watched my video in the last video I actually posted, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.